Welcome, everybody, to the World of Ability Podcast Network. My name is Emily Gumler, and a podcast engineer here. And I'm excited to bring you another episode of the World of Pets with Debbie Hayes. So this is going to be a fun show, being a animal house, since it's all about our furry friends. So we are here every Tuesday at 8 o'clock p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Pacific. So I am going to bring in Debbie to get us kicked off here.
Thank you, Emily. All right. Well, we want our pets to feel safe and secure with us. We want them to feel our unconditional love, just like we feel their unconditional love for us. We want them to live a long time, but we want that to be a good life. And David and I feel that we found something that can facilitate that. So we want to talk about that. Of course, we want to share things that we feel are good. And for information about that, you can go to debspets.com. But on the podcast, we really want to talk about our pets. And all things pets are here to be discovered. And we can laugh, we can cry about our pets. So it's myself and my co-host, David Wolfrum. And tonight our guest is Laura. And Laura is going to tell you a little bit about her story, but she is an advocate for pets and has established Tucson Action Team. So she will give you the reason for that, but she advocates, as I said. She looks for enforcement and education, and also for volunteers for what she does. So she's going to tell us a little bit more about what she does, and especially the part about checking out the puppy mills. So Laura, please take it away.
Thank you. And thank you for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity to share what I've learned in the last year. And when the Tucson Action Team started, someone actually had told me that there was a Petland store coming to our community. And I knew that Petland used puppy mill dogs. And so if anyone doesn't know what a puppy mill dog is, it's an inhumane factory farm of dogs where they keep dogs in cages and just stacked on top of each other. And they mass produce dogs until the dog can't produce anymore. And then the dog is discarded. So we're actually working to further a national puppy mill bill right now, which is going to let the dogs out of the cages for 30 minutes a day, give them food and water and vet care. So we feel like if that needs to be a law, then they're not getting it right now. But I'm going to go more into puppy mills later. But so the action team started when someone told me a Petland was opening, and I was furious. I knew what they were all about, and my heart sunk. So I reached out to some of my girlfriends and I said, what are we going to do? They said, let's start a Facebook group. I said, okay. So there was 2 of us who started. And I said, well, if we're really going to take this on, we're going to need to know something. So I reached out to a former senator friend of mine and I said, tell me how the government works and tell me how the government really works, because it turns out that Arizona, one of the last states to allow pet stores, has a state preemption that lets the state control rather than the local communities control what kind of businesses they want when it comes to pet stores. So that's how the action team got started. And then fast forward a year, we're 800 members. We have gone into schools to educate children on how to handle a dog. Don't put your hand by the dog's mouth when he's eating, or, don't pull his tail, or don't, some of the things that kids may not know, kids may want to play with the dog while the dog is eating, and maybe he snaps a little bit, and that's how dogs end up at the shelter. So we educate. We just started a spay and neuter group to help people find resources. We're still fighting those pet stores, so we protest the pet stores all the time. And we actually got one taken out of one of the malls because we wrote to mall management and told them the laws that this one particular store was breaking until they got rid of that pet store. And then finally, we intervene in the community and we help people who may be having some trouble with their pets. So that's how the action team got started. And now we're a nonprofit. So who
Great.
knew? Yeah.
So could you tell us some of the things that this store was doing or that stores traditionally do that helped you facilitate getting it closed?
Absolutely. So there are certain things you have to have in a pet store, like they have to have water, they have to have rabies certificates, they have to say what breeder they came from, breeder in quotes. So we would just a new mall management company called Pacific had bought this Park Place Mall here in Tucson, Arizona. They purchased this mall, and we said, this is the laws that you're breaking by allowing this person to be. And so we had people who would go in there and snap pictures, and then we would write again. And then finally, this gentleman who is actually under trademark infringement right now because he was calling his dogs rescue dogs. And he had another store in another town nearby. But we kept writing to the management company and then finally ended up with two sick dogs. And we went right to the investigative reporter at one of the news stations. And I mean, he just blew the story wide open. And about 2 weeks later, the marketing manager emailed me and said, we closed down the store. And still, I didn't believe her. I made one of the people go over and check the store that it was dark. But yeah, he got out of town, and I think he's on his way to Texas now. So we'll be writing to everyone there once he lands again, and we just start all over about these are the laws that he's breaking, and it's all about the money when it comes to the pet stores. It's not about the pet. So we'll find him.
So what are some of the things? Can you elaborate a little bit on the way that they mistreat or things?
Absolutely, absolutely. So in Arizona, we have a law that says pet stores have to have certain certificates on file. And just want to bring this up because it's really, and they can be inspected and things like that. Pet store mail in Arizona. And I want to get these right off. Okay. So what had happened is there's someone in Phoenix who has 4 pet stores and one down here. And all of a sudden, there was Senate Bill 1248 that was written into law, and it was pushed by this owner of the pet store. But yeah, so they have to have water, they have to have their vet certificates, they have to have certain rabies certificates hanging up. It was just different ones all the time. Sometimes they wouldn't have their items in their price. So whatever we could catch them on, we caught them on, and they would, I mean, even the things that weren't law. I mean, he would leave those dogs in those little glass boxes overnight. So I just got call after call, and we tried to get the state preemption overturned, repealed, and it didn't even go to committee this time. So we're going to try again next year and get pet stores out of Arizona. So yeah, it's not good.
So what about the the dogs that are sick, you were telling, when I met you, you were telling a few stories, and a couple of them had to do with the pets that were sold to somebody.
Right.
And
So
they
what's
weren't in
happening?
the people thought they were in good health, but they weren't.
Right. So what's happening with these dogs? So you have to understand that Arizona has a lemon law for dogs in its 60 days. So most of these dogs are getting sick after the 60 days, or what's happening is they're getting sick within the 60 days. And people have these enormous vet bills. Okay. Can you imagine what an ER vet would be? um, Thousands of dollars. Plus, what's happening with these pet stores, Debbie, and what's was shocking to me, and if your audience wants to Google puppies and predatory lending, that's going to blow your mind because what we're finding is they're calling it leases instead of loans. And so imagine you go into a pet store and you want a companion pet and you see, oh, it's $50 a month. I can afford $50 a month. So you buy this. And we have found that 80% of dogs that are purchased at pet stores are financed. So they're financed through one of these companies like Easy Pay. And you think $50 a month, oh, that's not bad. But it turns out that the loan could be at 133% or 189% or whatever they are dealing that day. There's AG, Attorney General after Attorney General from state after state after state who are suing these pet stores because of this lending practices. And California actually just wrote into law about predatory lending and pet stores. So it's kind of a big thing. But yeah, that's what happens. These people go in, they buy a dog, and then say these dogs get sick and they die, and then they have the vet bill, and then they have the loan if they took out, financing on this dog. So that's what's happening with pet stores. So these
Well,
two dogs that,
if the
I'm sorry.
dog dies within the 60 days, then they can get their money back. Is that correct?
Well, they don't get the loan money back. They can get the medical fees back, but once you sign the dotted line for the loan, you're in. So there's a gentleman, he was 18, and I believe it was in Washington. Don't quote me on exactly where it was, but it was on the Humane Society of the United States blog, and he had gotten two loans. He was 18, he was unemployed, dog dies, he still pays the loan, and the loan is like $7,500. So it's just ridiculous. So yeah, with the lemon law, you get the money back, but you don't get the loan. You still have to pay the loan, even if the dog dies.
Oh, wow.
Sick. It's sick. Yeah, it really is. And not only are we not protecting our community members, the dogs. I mean, if these people see that they can make $5,000-6,000 on a dog, and mall management sees they can make a percentage of every dog that's sold, because that's how the mall makes their money, along with the rent. I mean, it's just all about the money now. So these puppy mills are mass producing these dogs. It's yeah. And
And
like I said, they're go
what
ahead. I'm
about
sorry.
no, excuse me, but what about some of the different illnesses or medical issues that the dogs had, that you said that the puppy mills were selling
Yes.
them as though the dogs were healthy?
Right. So at the gentleman who was closed at Park Mall, there was and you can read this in the Arizona Daily Star if you just Google puppy mill dogs. There was a Yorkie born without a lung, so he only had one lung. Because you have to remember, if you make a copy of a copy of a copy and you're overbreeding these dogs, I mean, they're going to have all kinds of breathing issues, respiratory issues. Um, I have a dog that I actually purchased 15 years ago, and he was an overbred dog. And let me tell you what he has wrong with him. He's full of lumps and bumps. He has bad joints, which is a sign of overbreeding. He has a collapsed trachea, even though he's never worn a collar. Um, he's probably about $15,000 worth of medical bills because he's overbred. And I'm not saying it happens with every dog, but it happens when we start mixing these dogs. And for example, the one that's so popular right now is Frenchies, and they have to be artificially inseminated. They have a small breathing area, so it automatically puts the dog behind the eight ball because people think it's cute and they want him. But we just end up with so many Frenchies at the county shelter because people can't afford the medical bills that go with the Frenchies and their breathing issues and their
Mm.
respiratory issues.
David, did you have questions?
Man, I'm actually just enthralled to hear about all this. I had no idea that it really went that far,
Yeah,
and that the money was being spread around or that extreme, or that there was loan corruption and stuff like that. I mean, I took out a personal loan at my bank, but at a lower interest rate for Peyton's hip dislocation.
yeah,
But it's a manageable bill, and it's definitely worth it. He's 16 years old, so uh it's like,
yeah,
But the other thing is that yours, I mean, you knew, he had an accident at your workplace. It
right,
wasn't like it was some, it was some nefarious
right,
illness.
yeah, it wasn't a developmental issue at all by a long
right.
shot.
Yeah,
Even with his breed, I mean, he'd been paralyzed 4 times, but he's a dachshund, and you kind of
right,
expect that when you adopt that kind of a dog. But after
right.
the first time, I knew how to rehab him and get everything moving and working again, so I didn't have to take him to the vet every time that he pinched his nerve. And so, I mean, that just drives me nuts that people would take advantage of people like that.
It's really, it's really shocking. And say we didn't care at all about dogs, which is crazy to me because I love dogs. But say we didn't. The amount of people who are getting taken by these kind of loans, and like I said, after the program is over, go to your computer, Google puppies and predatory lending, and it will blow your mind. And I talked to senators, and I would be like, they were like, this is shocking. My assistant did research, and they're calling them leases instead of loans, and all this stuff is going on, and da da da. And I said, what are you going to do about it? And they're like, well, we're not on that committee. So I'm like, and that's when I would say your constituents would be so upset if they got taken by one of these loans. So I really think it's like the loans of, remember the payday loans of 10 years ago, that everybody had to get involved with this. I really feel like they're taking advantage, but the problem is now there's a living, breathing thing in the mix,
Right.
and it's just, it really is it's sickening. So I did gain attention of some of the, county people here when I talked about predatory lending. Yeah, but it's just such a big thing. And a friend of mine who's a lawyer told me, he says, don't take this on. There are so many lawyers and lobbyists that would just crush you. And I
Mm.
said, well, then let's just close the pet stores. It's just easier to maybe close the pet stores than, take on something that's so deeply rooted in money. So yeah, but yeah, Google that, puppies and predatory lending, and then you can let me know what you think about that.
Sounds very familiar to some other things, huh, Deb?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
but the puppy, I mean, what the pet stores are offering are just the puppies. Is that right? I mean,
they
they
do.
wait
So
until they're weaned from the. Do they even wait until they're weaned from the parents, the mother?
that I don't know. I honestly don't have an answer to that. I know that if anyone wants to get, it's funny because when I was talking to the town manager of the place that the pet store opened, this latest one, he had said to me, well, what if I want a purebred dog? And I said, these pet stores aren't selling purebred anything. They're multi-poos and hyperallergenic and cavapoos and all these different things that are mixed together. And I said, these are basically what we used to call when I was a kid, they're mutts. And so I said, and they're coming at a premium price with a lot of health issues. And like I said, their hands were really tied because of this state controlled law that allows them to control the pet stores. But yeah, I mean, and Petland is one of the worst because they have the lawyers, they have the lobbyists, and it's hard to fight them. So we do the best we can by finding out what we can. But yes, the puppy mills are under investigation right now because of all the sick dogs that are coming out of the puppy mills. But here's the thing. So we're trying to get a national puppy mill bill, which I told you about, and it's going to have the dogs come out of the cages 30 minutes a day, which is sickening if you have to have a law that says a dog gets out of a cage 30 minutes a day. But here's the problem with it. It's not enforceable because the same people who are inspecting your food, the USDA, are the ones who are inspecting the puppy mills. So when they finally get around to the puppy mills, there was just one recently in the Midwest that had 52 violations when the inspector finally got out to it. So, I mean, these are dogs living in cages their whole lives, not groomed, not pet, not taken care of, not snuggled, not any of the things we do with dogs. They live in a cage. And now some states are just adding that you have to have a platform on the bottom of the cage so their little feet don't go through the wires. I mean, it's just,
Oh,
yeah, I can't even look at those pictures because they just, I mean, these dogs are never groomed, never cared for, never anything. So, and this is what's mass producing the dogs. And that's the thing, the supply and demand. The demand is out there because people don't know better. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to educate people. And when we're out there protesting, I will have people literally stop their cars and say, "What's a puppy mill?" And I'll say, "You came to the right place. I'm going to tell you all about it." And I said, "Go home. If you don't believe me, go home, Google it, be prepared to just be heartbroken." And there you go. So, and then I tell them about the national bill. And I said, if we have to have a law to do that, then, it's a sick state of affairs. So,
yeah. So I'm going to switch the conversation and then bring it back
yes.
with a question. So debspets.com is my personal brand for another company that I partner with. And we provide healthy food, immune support by way of, well, don't tell the dogs they're not treats, but they're really immune support, and toys that are healthy for the pets. If people don't know, if you look at your food and one of the ingredients is animal byproducts, that can be roadkill. It can be like when they trim like the chicken, or they're trimming beef for human consumption, and then the stuff that they don't use to give us humans, they throw in a bin and let it sit outside possibly for a couple of days, and somebody from a dog food company will come pick it up, and that is byproducts. So believe it or not, there's only 4 inspectors nationally.
I believe it.
To see that. So how do you know how many inspectors there are that would be checking out, the puppy mills to see what kind of legislation they're breaking?
Last I heard there were 7.
Okay. That's still not very, that's nationwide, correct?
Right. So the people who have to inspect your steak at Safeway have to inspect the puppy mills. So yeah, that is nationwide.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
So not very many. So they're not very well looked after.
not well regulated is what we're trying to say.
Right. Not regulated at all.
Wow.
Well, the regulations are there, but not the people to
Enforced.
enforce the regulations, right?
Right.
Realistically.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, David, do you have any other questions for Laura?
Honestly, like, where can we jump in? What's your Facebook page called?
Tucson Action Team, and we have all kinds of jobs for people who want to get involved just a little bit or
Hmm.
want to get involved in a big way.
Yeah.
We have an education team that goes into schools, but we also have many people who live out of state and still want to get involved, and they're helping us do some research because I brought on a research team for this very reason, and I'll tell you a funny story. So it's not funny, haha, but it makes me look kind of, bad. And so I wanted to get a research team so I wouldn't claim something and it wouldn't be true. So someone from Nogales, Arizona sent me a picture, and this dog was tethered on a little piece of wire, okay? And I think it was tied to a tire. And I thought, this is terrible. So I found out the name of the animal control officer down there and I let him have it. I was like, this is terrible. How can you let this dog be on this little tiny leash? Tethering is illegal in Arizona, blah, blah, blah. Well, I guess tethering is not illegal in Arizona. It's not legal in certain counties in Arizona. And so um, I'm like, I never want that to happen again. I want to be at the forefront of knowing the laws. And it's really hard because I'm not a lawyer. But I know enough to know that there are areas of Arizona, and I'm sure of wherever state people are listening from, that people are getting away with things and they shouldn't be getting away with that. And we have a lot of backyard breeding, and we have a lot of, just people not treating the dogs as the loving, unconditional, beautiful animals that they are. I mean, I love my dogs, and I am just like you, Debbie. I have to know what they're eating and if it's, safe. And we go to like a holistic vet, and my dogs have had acupuncture and laser therapy and all these things because I'm one of those people. And even when my dog, who was overbred, had some joint issues, we had swim therapy and all this kind of stuff. So yes, I am one of those dog people, but I believe that at the very minimum, dogs should not be outside, when it's 110. Dogs should not be um tied to things, it's just, so those are some of the things we're working on at a local level. Like the law reads that a dog can be outside as long as he has shelter, but it's 110,
Right.
and you're wearing a fur coat. So these are some of the things that we're looking at. I also had someone from an emergency vet let me know that dogs come in the middle of the night with their owners and they're hit by cars. And the emergency vet always offers to euthanize them for free. And I said, oh, that's very kind of you, but you don't have to take that. They can take the dog with them. And I'm like, but what happens to the dog? Is the dog suffering? So I don't know. So that's my next path that I want to go down. What happens to these dogs? Does someone go and check on these dogs? Is it reported? So I'll let you know more about that. And then again, I'm starting to work on litter permits. if you want to have dogs, you have to tell people like animal control or the county agency why you're going to bring more dogs into a world that we just have a lot of dogs right now. The shelters are full, the rescues are full. Our municipal shelter's getting ready for 4th of July, and that's their busiest day because people just go and leave their dogs outside and the dogs go crazy. And there's not any open kennels right now. So the dogs that may need to come to the municipal shelter don't have a safe place to land because they've been over capacity for 3 years now. So I think it's just irresponsible to bring more dogs into the world when we're already at capacity. So,
But that doesn't mean you're not implying that you don't care for dogs. You're
oh
just
my,
saying that we need to be able to take care of the ones that we do have.
oh, absolutely. I mean, I, Debbie, I probably sometimes I tell my husband, okay, bye. And then I say to the dogs, oh my God, I love you. Oh my God, don't forget mama. Oh my God, do you need a picture of mama while I'm gone? I used to hang up my picture by the dog's water bowl so they could see. Yes. I'm one of those. I'm telling you, I'm one of those. But I love all dogs. And I think they're like little angels without wings on earth because no matter what happens to them, they're always happy. And it's funny because when I talked to you earlier, you said, oh, we're going to be on camera. And I thought, oh, God, I just got caught in a downpour today because I was on the corner trying to keep a dog out of traffic until um, animal care could come. And that was about 2 hours. And
Oh,
I'm standing there and my hair's like this and my makeup's running. And he was the sweetest dog and he looked like he was just dumped. And, I went next door and I got him some roast beef from the sandwich shop. And so they're my love. I put all my extra time into making this world a better place for dogs. I mean, that's what I do. None of my volunteers get paid. We're out, you know, working where we can and doing what we can. And we do it because we love it. So I love them. Don't
yeah.
tell my husband.
And I'd love to end there, but we do need to talk about 4th of July for a minute. So
Uh,
I'm glad that you brought that up because I know that they were talking, and I have heard this before as well in my capacity with the company
yes,
that I partner with, that
yes.
about in the Tucson area, about 300, between 200 and 400 dogs will get out. So
Mhm.
some person will put their dog in the backyard because the dog has never jumped the fence before.
Right.
And then the fireworks start and the dog is scared and has tremendous amount of adrenaline and there
Yes.
it goes over the wall.
Right. Absolutely. And people don't remember that a lot of times when they rescue a dog, you really need to give it 3 days to get used to your house, 3 weeks to get used to your routine, and really 3 months to get used to their new environment. So many people have adopted dogs and then they're like, oh, we're going to a 4th of July party. Fluffy can stay out in the backyard. No, Fluffy can't. Fluffy's going to freak out.
Yep.
And, it's not only not good for people who have PTSD, animals, wildlife go crazy. They get off their like flight patterns and stuff. I mean, fireworks are just not my favorite thing. And I
Right.
have found out that there is some public officials who have stock in these firework companies or own the firework companies, and that's why they allow the fireworks. And I'm like, because I remember when we lived in a desert that was very dry when I was a kid, and there was no fireworks allowed because, every year things would catch on fire. So,
Mhm.
anyway, back to the dogs though. So, what you can do with your dog is not put him outside, even if he's normally stays outside, bring him inside. If he has to stay outside, make sure the fence is secure, that he's microchipped. PAC has been doing week after week after week, and I think tomorrow's their final microchipping event for free to the community from like 11 to 1. You can go to PAC, you can get, I mean, at least make sure he has a tag on. And yeah, but if you can bring him inside, turn on some music, just keep him very calm because PAC will be overrun with dogs. Yeah, about 200 to 400.
Yeah.
And those are the ones they
Or
can
you could,
catch.
or you could be like me and I just stay home with mine.
Right. Me too.
Same with New
But
Year's Eve.
they still go crazy. So I have tried to give them like a little chew and, keep them very calm. And, one has a little thunder shirt that he wears. But yeah, they still go crazy. So a lot of times I have to go outside and tell the neighbors, stop putting the fireworks, right? My dogs are going crazy, but you do
Yeah.
what you can do. But they are
Yeah.
really trying to keep this from happening again. And they've been talking about fireworks at the municipal shelter for months now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, on that note, happy 4th of July, everyone.
Well, happy 4th of July. Please keep your dogs inside. Please Google puppies and predatory lending. Please join the Facebook group, Tucson Action Team. And if you're here locally in Tucson, we're going to be having an event at Corbett's on 6th and 7th on July 13th from 4 to 6. And you're welcome to come out and check out the Tucson Action Team and talk about all things dog.
It's so
Great.
wonderful. I just want to throw in there, at your local pet store, they do have stress gummies for dogs.
Oh,
And some of them contain natural CBD, some of them don't. But that's one thing that Deb and I have come across.
yeah.
And with our pet products is the natural CBD gummies that are really good stress relief. So just keep that in
Yeah.
mind. You can't buy it today and get it tomorrow, kind of thing, but you can find it at your local pet store. So keep that in mind if your dogs have high stress levels and fear levels from loud noises and stuff. My dog's deaf now, so he doesn't care. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Mine seems to be losing his hearing, but the thunder, I don't know if it's the thunder or maybe some vibrations that we're not hearing, just the thunder,
Right.
the weather is making the earth shake a little bit because he doesn't seem to be responding auditorily to the way he used to, but I was with him all afternoon. He was shaking because I did not give him the CBD in time. It was just, I was just not even thinking about it storming. And then all of a sudden I heard the thunder.
yeah.
Got to prepare ahead. Take it from me, people. All right. Well, thank you. Emily, could you come and close us out, please?
Thanks again for being on. Great story.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to go join your Facebook group.
Oh, thank you so much. I love to tell my message anywhere. I'm in a group with Debbie and, all of a sudden I couldn't keep quiet because I'm so passionate about making this a better world for our community and our dogs.
Yeah. I'm glad you did. Thank you
Thank
again.
you.
Okay,
Thank you.
Emily, thank you. You can close us out.
And everybody, thank you, Laura, for joining us. Again, we are here every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Central. If you're interested in being a guest, please connect with us. We can make that happen. Also, encourage everybody to check out our social media, YouTube channel, World of Pets Podcast, LinkedIn page, so on. And thank you to our partners of Marcus Hart of Transforming Media, Zach Clayton of the Pack Channel, Lawrence Wingate of Wingate Studios, Chase Joy of the Disability Channel. There's support of network on our shows. Yes, until next week, have a safe and productive week and just stay happy.
Happy
Thank
Independence
you.
Day,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Emily, thank you.
Bye.